Hi, my name is Carol.
My name is Hasna, and we are Current Harmony Connections.
Current Harmony Connections is an online community organization that aims to raise awareness to the challenges we currently face in society, helping educate people so they can make a positive impact in their communities.
Speaking Volumes is our first panel discussion and interview event, and our topics are Asian empowerment, Muslim empowerment, Black empowerment, women empowerment, navigating COVID, and mental health.
Be sure to subscribe and give a thumbs up to our videos.
Please follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram. The links will be in the description box below.
We hope you enjoy our panel discussions and interviews. Okay, so thank you so much for coming to this panel and taking your time to really share your experiences. The aim is really to help empower women and share experiences and knowledge so that we can all make an impact in our communities. So we'll start off by each panelist introducing themselves and giving us a small bio of what they do. So I'll start off with C.
Hey, wonderful to be here. My name is Sue Harnett. I live in Durham, North Carolina in the United States. And I'm the mom of 2 boys. And I started a nonprofit approximately 3.5 years ago. And the intention of that nonprofit is really focused on helping to support college women who are pursuing careers or, majors at the college level in computer science and engineering. Too many women start off in those fields and wind up changing majors after just a couple of classes. And the representation of women at graduation has been less than 20% for the past 15 years. So we're trying to make an impact on that.
Shaklo.
Great. Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me and making me part of this. I'm so honored to be here. And my name is Shaklo Zizalaiva. I am originally from Uzbekistan. I came to the United States in
Sorry, Shaklo, I can't hear you. Am I the only one?
No, I can't hear her either. I think your microphone is far away.
Yeah.
Oh, probably.
Try bring it closer. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want me to start over, or should I just?
Yeah.
Yes,
that would be great.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for making me part of this. I'm so honored to be here. My name is Shaklo Zizalaiva. I am originally from Uzbekistan. I came to the United States in 2013, and I am right now a student in finance studying at St. Joseph's and also in business. And my passion grew to helping women when I was in such a young age, where I wanted to have my nonprofit organization, but I had never been got a help or anything, or any kind of empowerment. I didn't have any access to an internet. So when I came here, it was like my biggest passion to have that organization, to help more women, to educate them, and to make sure that they get the internships and that they get the help that others need. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of help from around me. I didn't have a lot of women who could support me. So I decided that I will have this organization called Femalium that I started to help more women, to empower them, to tell them that they can do it and that they're strong, and nothing can stop them. Thank you.
Karen.
Hi, it's great to be here. So my name's Karen McDonough Reynolds. I'm based in the UK. I actually did a technology degree. I was one of two females in most of the technology classes. And I've worked in technology for about 20 years in the public sector, but also more recently in the financial services. I currently run a program to move technologies into the cloud. So it's all very on the new cutting edge side of things. I'm incredibly passionate about inclusion. work. And for our organisation, for our technology organisation, I co-chair our group that is Tech Inc., that's aiming to make a difference in technology. And also for the wider insurance, I sit on a couple of the external bodies that are trying to make a difference specifically for gender equality in the insurance sector.
Shivali.
Hi everyone, my name is Shivali and I'm a rising high school senior from the Bay Area, interested in product management and tech. I'm the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called Girl Genius, which strives to connect, inspire, and empower girls in STEAM through quarterly magazine issues, outreach, events, and much more. And I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. Shalina.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me along. I am Shalina McAleese. I studied business probably too long ago now to mention. And for me, my current role is that I'm a cloud engagement consultant. So my job is supporting business to move to cloud and find cloud solutions. On top of that, and on top of my day job, I have also launched a mentoring program internally with my organisation, which is focused around a variety of different mentoring. So, mentoring for specific subjects, mentoring for specific areas, long-term mentoring, and as well as that I represent Scotland on the Gender Equity Network internally within our organisation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. As a female leader, what has been the most significant barrier in your career? I'll start with Shaklo.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. I think it's one of the most important questions. And I think that as a female leader, growing up, I think that one thing that stood out from me, from my family, is that I was such a leader, right? And people used to call me bossy. Oh, she's too loud, she's that. But I think that I'm very different from my family, is that I became a very strong advocate for what I believe and what I want to do with my life, right? Because back in my country, not many women can do that, right? Not many women can speak for themselves. Not many women can ask for the kind of like the things that they want to do, right? They can't go apply to jobs because they believe that men is better for that job, right? And so I think that growing up in Uzbekistan, moving to United States, not knowing any kind of language, and being a woman itself has been one of the greatest barriers of my life. And I felt like that when I was growing up in Uzbekistan, that I had no choice just to be a good girl, go to college or not go to college, and just be a wife and take care of the children, and that's my life, right? Because that's how we are kind of raised in families in Uzbekistan, and there isn't any kind of opportunities, a lot of opportunities to women in Uzbekistan. But when I came here, I met so many amazing people. I met amazing people who inspired me, who told me that you can be that woman, right? And now my passion and my one of the most important thing that I want to do is to tell more women that they can do it, right? And one of the barriers that I have faced is that you are always told that you're too bossy, you can't do this, you are just because you're a woman, you are not right, you are this, right? And most of the time your opinions aren't heard, right? If you want to say something, they don't take you serious because you're a woman, right? They don't want to take you serious. They don't want to say that, oh, what you're saying is important, right? And so I have had very problems kind of like telling myself, oh, I'm right, like you have to believe me, you have to kind of like trust me that what I'm doing is right. Even starting with Femalium, I had so many kind of like back thoughts in my head where how would my family react to this, right? How would the society react to this? How would the people back in Pakistan react to something that's so feminist, right? Something so that I want to fight for it, because in my country they don't like that, right? They don't like when women stand up for what they believe, right? And many people kind of like put against women. And so I think that the kind of like me thinking that how would my family react to this, how would many people react to this, was one of the biggest barriers that I had, and I still have that, but I'm trying to solve and fight for it. But I think that to any woman to kind of feels like that, to any woman who thinks that that they may be too bossy or they shouldn't speak, that they should definitely speak for it, right? They should definitely fight for what they believe, and definitely speak for what they want to speak for, right? Like, let's say if I didn't create Femalium, or if I didn't kind of talk about this with different platforms, nobody would know about it, right? People only know it when you actually bring it to life, right? So definitely don't be afraid of any kind of barriers, because you aren't the only one. You know, everyone has barriers in their life, and it's like I may have it in a different way, you may have it in a different way, right? But everyone has a different barriers. But it's very important that we definitely stick to our ideas and what we want to do with our life, and continue being strong. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'll move on to Sue.
Yeah.
Sue, you're muted.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think so much is the exposure of what you grew up with, right? Your family and attitudes and things that you learn along the way. And I grew up in New York City. My parents were much older when they had me. They are products of the Great Depression, and my dad actually fought in World War II. So I think the attitude I was brought up with was one that very empowering, that my parents always really taught me that you can do whatever a boy could do. And for me, I think I always grew up with sort of a mindset that I wasn't really going to allow these systemic barriers that you see, whether they be in the culture that you grew up in or the religion that you grow up in, are going to keep you down. I was an athlete, played from the time I was little through college and professionally. And I think that taught me a lot of resiliency, and oftentimes competing against boys. And I think one of the things that is so important is to really hone your craft and be really good at what you do. Right? If you can bring a skill set and knowledge, or some sort of skill that shows that you can compete with the big boys, so to speak, and you belong there, I think that is something that is really empowering. So as much as I've seen some traditional barriers that are there and hopefully will have started to change and will continue to change, I think the drive and the outlook that you have is just really empowering.
Definitely, I definitely agree, and I think what sort of shines out in terms of what you and Chakra have said, I think, is the environment and how that shapes you as a person. I can definitely relate in terms of, I come from an African background, and culturally, women tend to be not like, if you're in a high position or you hold a position that is regarded as to be, like a male dominated position, people look at you as if you're someone who's too aggressive or who's too bossy, like what Chakra said. So I think, with the work that you do in terms of rewriting the code and Familium, it's a great place to meet like-minded, women, and to sort of get that motivation to actually, follow your dreams.
Yeah.
I'll move on to Karen.
Okay, thank you. So I was brought up in a family with a lot of strong women. So I was always I never really thought of there was nothing I couldn't do, because you could do it. However, obviously then I went to college to do technology, and I work in a male dominated environment. And I think one of the barriers for me, it's about being seen, because you're different, because you're the different person in the room. You're seen because you're different, but you're not seen because of that difference, because you're not one of the gang. You don't look the same, you sound different, and everything like that. So I think that has been, for the challenges of my career, I think that's probably been one of the most, because I am thankfully, in my new team, we've built a very diverse team. It's amazing. However, in our wider organisation, we're not. We are normally the only females in the room. So it is about getting over that barrier and making sure people are seeing you as an equal, not as the... So I imagine many of you may have experienced a female in the room obviously does the notes for the meeting, being asked to get the coffees, all of things like that, because of being female. So it's about that, but it's also about working really, however hard you work, you've also got to make sure you're being noticed. And for me, it's been about allyship, but also having those conversations with other male colleagues to say, did you notice I wasn't noticed today? And then get them also to notice people's bad behaviour, so that they then also go, oh, Karen has an opinion. Karen, what did you say? And obviously, then them also commenting when we get your comments are repeated by a man and everyone then agrees to them, and making sure that there's male colleagues saying, Karen said that first, because that also is another thing that is very common, and a lot of the time I think it's very unconscious. However, I think if you can build up some allies and supporters around you to help reinforce and spot bad behaviour, then I think that also has helped me throughout my career.
Yeah, definitely. I think also being able to educate other people really is what will make a difference. Yeah. Shalina.
Yeah, one of the barriers that came to mind for me, and this is something that I still deal with and I still find challenging and I'm working through, is imposter syndrome. And for me, imposter syndrome, the way that I sort of think about it, is that it's that sort of mental pattern where you doubt your accomplishments, your achievements, or your talents, and there's a sort of persistent, irrational at times, an internal kind of fear of being exposed, of being found out. And that's something that I've certainly had to battle through. I come from a business background and I'm now in the technology industry, in the technology field. So for me, I am on a very deep learning curve. So it's always just about, for me, understanding where my talents actually lie, and understanding that there's still always more to learn. I will always have more things to learn, and that nobody really truly knows what you're good at, what you're an expert in. You're there to really make that impact and really make that difference, and understand where you can really add value. So that's something that I always come back to, is just where are my skills, where are my natural talents, what are my natural abilities, and use that as a way to actually say, well, actually, here's how I see it, and adding that perspective, and always kind of reminding myself that I have an input, I have a space here, and that's something that I constantly am working through and reflect on a regular basis as well. And it's going to be a challenge at times, but it's just making sure that you tell yourself truths, more than the fears.
Definitely. I think focusing on your strengths rather than looking at, you're not going to be good at everything, but what you focus on is what you'll get confirmation, like you'll amplify that. So I think focusing on that is great. Shivali.
I was also going to say imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I'm really doing this thing where I interned at Verizon this past summer, and a lot of our panels were primarily like male dominated, and I really liked asking at every panel, like, what do you do when you feel imposter syndrome working in a hyper competitive environment like tech? And every single time they would just all stare at each other being like, can you explain what imposter syndrome is? And I thought that was so ironic because it's one of the most discussed topics at panels like these everywhere. And I think that it just goes to show that, you know, there is a difference when it comes to confidence and working towards STEM fields.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, living in the Bay Area and going to events like hackathons, which are like 12 to 36-hour coding events, it's very easy in the initial stages to compare yourself to students who maybe know how to write in coding languages that you've never heard of until you stepped into the door. And I think that, like Shalina said, it's really important to like remind yourself that, you know, you have strengths and that you do have weaknesses, but you are working towards them and that you are a valuable asset to the room. And I also think that what Sue said about surrounding yourself with people who believe in you is so important. I'm part of my high school's engineering academy, which is for 3 years. We basically work with 3D printers every single day. And I remember my first few months were rough, to say the least. I was really struggling with the software and making sure that my prints actually turned out the way they could. And I think that having people to support me in that environment really allowed me to see that failing in engineering is, you know, kind of the key to success, because ultimately you get over that obstacle and you realize that reiteration is just improvement. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, definitely. The next question is, how should women navigate male-dominated workplaces? I'll start with Karen.
Okay, so for me, be yourself. Don't try and be more male. And you see that, but don't. If you're yourself and you're true to yourself, and it may take longer, but you will shine through and you'll be happier. Because at the end of the day, you've got to be happy in your workplace, because if you're not, you will never be the success that you can be, because you need to bring your passion and your true self to work. And if you're putting up a facade, you're not bringing your true self. So it's hard, but it's about bringing yourself. And I think also, for me, get a mentor. Mentor and mentees are so important. Internal, external. I just think it's really, really useful. And both ways, be a mentee as well as a mentor, because you learn both ways so much. I learned so much from my mentees, and probably more than they will ever learn from me. And also a business sponsor. I think if you can get a business sponsor, and it doesn't matter if that business sponsor is a male or female, but I think that helps. You need someone who will be your advocate, which is more than a mentee. A mentee's there for support, but you need someone who will be an advocate for you. And lastly, the thing that I think is really important is have a big circle of like-minded, predominantly it will be females around you. Have someone that you can ring up and just go, when you need to, because that frustration, if you can get rid of that frustration in a second, it's gone. And then you move on, and someone will have good advice and will help you get through it. So for me, it's about have your girls around you. For me, that's really important. But also, always bring your true self to work, because otherwise you won't be the success that you can be.
Definitely. Shaklo.
Yeah, for me, I would say definitely educate yourself. Like, education is super important when it comes to kind of like working in a male-dominated world. Kind of like educate yourself on things that you should know, right? Like, definitely be smart, right? Be outgoing. Be that person that gets the work done, right? Be that girl that doesn't have to like check it. Be that girl that actually like studies, works hard, and does her stuff and ignores others, right? Definitely, you shouldn't care about others in your workplace. You shouldn't care about what others think about you, what others say about you, or anything like that. If you know that you are right, that's it. That's the only thing that you need. If you know that you got the numbers right, if you know that you got the numbers correct, or the work done, or the research done, if you know that that's the correct thing, then you shouldn't care about other things. You shouldn't care about what other men say or other people say to you in the workplace, right? and be the person that always is outgoing and always forgets about any kind of things that kind of brings stress, right? Like, let's say there is like a feeling that a woman get to kind of say, oh, I'm a woman, maybe I shouldn't network with the men, I'm kind of shy, I don't want to network with men, I don't feel comfortable wearing this dress, it's too short, I don't feel this, there's just so many things that women think about, and they put themselves not in the opportunity, right? They don't go for the opportunity. But forget about all of those, right? Forget about if it's a man or if it's a woman. Just go for it. Go for the opportunities. Go for networking. Go for that event that you want to do. Go for that opportunity that you want to fly to, right? Just do it, right? I would definitely say that to all the women that I know and I see and I meet every day. Just do it. Any kind of opportunity that comes your way, doesn't matter if you're a woman, if you're this, if you're that. It just, you shouldn't see those things, right? What you have to see yourself as an educated woman that's trying to get the work done, and that's it. Like, you have to always motivate yourself, always be that person to kind of go for everything. And we have sometimes bad days, and that is the reason that I would say have a mentor that always motivates you, right? Like, when you are having a bad day, it's very important that you have a mentor that says that I trust in you, I believe in you. And I think that it's super important, because I had so many kind of like days that I felt very, very bad. I had points where in life I didn't know the meaning of my life anymore, right? I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was in a biology major, I was in different majors, that I felt so lost, right? And I felt like that was the end, right? And that's where a mentor comes into your life and says that I believe in you, do this, it's not the end, right? So it's really important to have those two things, that you're motivated, that you're always going for things, and to have a mentor that always supports you and there for you when you need them.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Sue.
It's challenging to follow such great responses to this question. And I do just have to make an observation that, there's women from all over the world and different backgrounds, and we are all feeling the same thing, right? I hear a lot of times, well, this is a US problem, and I'm like, no, I think it's beyond the US. So it makes me feel more comfortable to be with all of you. I do think that the point that Karen made about having your people is so important. You have to have a community, and in the organization that we've developed, I think that's our essence. The number one reason why women tend to leave tech is because they feel like they don't belong. And when the numbers are so low, how do you start to feel like you belong? And the way we've done this is we've tried to take a national and now international approach in forming communities, but with very tight groups, like women in college. That's a 4-year span, right? We don't try and overextend that too much, so that you're with people who are going through the same types of things that you're going through. I'm probably the oldest person here. I've worked in 3 different industries in my career. I started in healthcare administration, so I worked with a lot of physicians. That was pretty male dominated. I went to work in the college and professional sports industry. That's very dominated by women, by men, and now in technology. Unfortunately, almost all industries are very dominated by men. And I think you do have to be yourself. And I do also think, though, that because we are the minority oftentimes, we have to take the steps, even if we're not outgoing, to kind of be that person to kind of reach out and not kind of just lay back. So I think you can always find commonalities with anyone, right? We're all very different people, but we've found this commonality in the issues that we're talking about today. And I think that, for a lot of men, I well, they don't view that the fact that there's not a lot of women at the table as a problem. And I think that the more that we can make them feel comfortable, and I hate to say it that way, but I think we have to be the ones to extend a bit and try and form those relationships and get them to see that we have things to contribute. And I also loved what some folks said about forming allyship, because it's just really integral. You know, people are people. It doesn't matter, you know, kind of where you are. I think that we have to be leaders, and that's what the younger women need as well, is to have role models who can emulate the behaviors that we have. And I don't think you have to take on someone else's persona. I do think you need to be yourself, but you need to kind of find a way to be able to connect. I do think that having an expertise or something of real value to add to the conversation commands a lot of respect, and the fact that it reinforces that you should be at the table. So I don't think there's one prescription necessarily for this. It's trying a lot of different things, and depending on the audience, you know, what works and what doesn't work. But I would definitely try and be persistent. And the one other thing I would say around imposter syndrome, because it's such a big topic, it never goes away. To be perfectly frank, I think there's different levels of imposter syndrome over the course of your career. And I think you find different ways to deal with it. But I don't know too many women, if you're being really honest and vulnerable, who wouldn't admit that there's always kind of a voice in your head that questions, right? And I think you really just need to talk that voice down sometimes and just choose not to listen. But I think there's men that have it as well, but not in a million years would they ever admit it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think, you know, we all feel some sense of fear or imposter syndrome at some point in our lives, whether that's in career or in your, you know, personal life. But I think it's about having courage. So feeling the fear and doing it anyway, I think that's what's important. So yeah, Shivali.
I definitely have to agree with all of the responses that were just said. But I think that it's really, really important, like Shaloko said, to not be afraid to interact with the men that are in the environment. And I guess like only interact with the females. I think that a lot of times working with people who don't always think about things the same way that you are allows you to grow internally. And like, for example, in my engineering academy, there's only like 8 girls out of 60 people in the room. And obviously that isn't, you know, that doesn't make me feel the most represented in the room, but that hasn't necessarily stopped me from, you know, trying a print over and over again if it's failing, or, you know, rebuilding an aspect of my robot the day before it's due. Because I think that it's really important to interact with different types of people, because then they kind of see what a valuable asset you are to them too. Like a lot of my friends, they'll come to me for, you know, help on this coding problem, whereas I'll come to them for the help on a cat problem. And it's really nice because, you know, that kind of eliminates them from seeing the gender aspect, and I think it creates a lot more of an inclusive atmosphere. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Shalina.
Yeah, I mean, all great responses, absolutely fantastic. I was also going to mention about mentoring, and the only real thing that I would add here is that, you know, mentoring can look different depending on the relationships, depending on your requirements, depending on your goals and your personal development. So you can really turn mentoring into something that is either short term or long term. It could be that you want to speak to a mentor on a specific subject matter, and, you know, mentoring sometimes happens naturally without us actually even realizing that it's taking place as well. And sometimes we're being mentored or we're mentoring someone else, and, you know, short conversations with them over the phone, or we walk past them in the office, kind of pre-COVID. All of those kind of things can be mentoring as well, and we can, you know, pass on wisdom and receive wisdom from other people too. But one thing that also came to mind, just hearing everybody talk, was around planning and prepping. I am the type of person that loves to plan. I am the type of person that, you know, has that diary that's like, you know, at this time I will do this. And so one of the things that I always do is that, you know, and I loved what you said, Carol, about, you know, feeling the fear and doing it anyway. You know, there's certain meetings, there's certain things that I concern myself about, or I get worked up about, and then actually when I sit down and I actually think, do you know what, I'm just going to sit and I'm going to think about this for like 30 minutes, or I'm going to reflect on it for, you know, a couple of days. Just giving yourself time and space as well to do the prep work that you need to do for things is also important. So that's one thing. One piece of advice that I would say is that it's okay to do that prep work, and sometimes it's even necessary to do that prep work as well.
Yeah, definitely. When you face challenges as a woman leader, what encourages you to keep going? I'll start with Shakla.
Sure. Yeah. I think that everyone faces challenges, and every human faces challenges, every woman faces challenges, but the most important thing is that, are you going to keep going, right? Are you going to keep doing what you're doing? Are you going to keep shining? Because there is going to be the times where you are so stressed, so burned out, you're so like it's like it becomes so crazy that you don't want to do these things anymore, because it's affecting you, affecting your health, and it's affecting you in every way, right? But it is really important to keep yourself, or to remind yourself that you have to keep going, right? It is okay that you're going to face hardships. It's okay that you're going to face barriers. It's okay that you're going to do all of that, because it's life, it happens. But it is the most important thing if you're actually going to keep going, right? If you're going to actually stay motivated, if you're going to keep doing more of what you're doing, right? And so one of the things that I do to kind of motivate myself is take time off, because as much as you think that like the more work you do, that's how much more time you should take for yourself to kind of build yourself to kind of be happy again. Because when you're not happy, then the work you're doing is gonna be so worthless. It's not like you're doing work anymore, right? It's not gonna be like you're doing work anymore. It's like you're not gonna feel like living, right? So it's really important for you to take time off, to kind of go back to yourself, to relax, to have a time for family, right? For time for yourself, to take care of yourself, right? To kind of like spend some time with yourself, to look back at everything and come back freshened, right? And that's some of the things that happens to me a lot. Like I face a lot of challenges, like maybe it can be like in my family, it can be in society, it can be in my work, or it can be in anything. But what I do is just kind of take time for myself, kind of take a break and say, you know what, it's okay, this kind of things happen. Just come back to myself and remember it, kind of like remind myself of who I am, right? Of who I wanted to become, right? Because I always kind of write things down. I have my own journal where I write down who I want to become, right? What kind of ideas I have. So when I face failures, I kind of read that aloud to myself again and remind of what I wanted to do at the first place, right? What kind of person that I wanted to be at the first place, what kind of ideas I had at the first place, and kind of say them to myself again and start doing those things again, you know? If I have to talk about this, like I have so much to say it, but the thing is that like it should be equal. When you're sad and you are happy, both be equal. You know, you sometimes have happy days when you feel the most successful, you are like the best person, but sometimes you feel the worst, right? You feel like you're such a biggest failure, you can't do anything. But it's super important that you also have that person next to you or mentor says that you can do it, right? And also remind yourself that you can do it as well, because at the end of the bad days there's also a happy day, right? Or happy beginning. So you should always look for that happy day and always stay motivated.
Thank you. Shivali?
I think that as a female founder, there's a lot of challenges that I face on a daily basis when interacting with other nonprofits, but also running my own. I think that the biggest thing that keeps me going is understanding the importance of the non-tangible impacts. It's very easy to compare yourself numerically to other organizations, or like, maybe you'll organize an event and half of the people who signed up will show up, whereas in your other event, 3/4 showed up. And I think that it's very easy to remain critical of yourself. But recently during quarantine, I've been having coffee chats with not only just women in tech, but also other nonprofit leaders. And it's really allowed me to see that, although I'm in high school, I still have, 1 to 2 pieces of advice that can help someone. And I think that the emails that I get after those conversations are what keeps me going, because it's like, I just shared something that I thought would help you, and it actually did. And I think that that's really, really important to keep in mind when you're navigating such a space. At Verizon, one of my mentors said that you should always aspire to be someone's mentor. And I think that, like you guys all said, like mentorship comes in very different forms. And I think that it's really important to remind yourself of the impact that you even have, even if it's helping one person in a daily conversation.
Thank you. Selena?
For me, it's all about mindset. It's having that growth mindset and applying it and working at it and exercising it. There's been so many times where I've approached situations in the past and I've said, oh, I don't think I can do this, right? And for me, the mindset part, the growth mindset part kind of comes in when I say, well, I can't do this yet, right? And there's such a power in that word yet. Just being able to say, actually, I might feel like I can't do this, but there might be a day where actually I can do this. And, just applying that word yet to me shapes my goals and what I want to aspire to and what I want to keep working towards, and realizing that I'm never quite the finished article, but there's still so many growth opportunities for me to learn from, for me to develop from. And so that's what keeps me going, practicing my growth mindset, keeping that in check, and making sure that I'm viewing situations in a way that, actually combats that fixed mindset and actually says, actually, there will be a day where I could do this, or I do just need to learn a little bit more and dig a little bit deeper into that.
Definitely. Karen?
For me, I suppose as a challenge as a female leader, it's that I'm making a difference, and that I am incredibly passionate about inclusion, and actually it makes me keep going. And the fact that I am making a difference, and there's a beautiful picture where it's of a woman of a ladder, and it's one hand up and one hand down, and lots of people, and that's what keeps me going. I've worked hard to get where I am in my career, but it's more important to me that there is a massive pipeline of really talented people coming through. And so for me, when it is challenging being a female leader, I just think about it and think, well, actually, do you know what? You're making a difference, because if you weren't, you wouldn't be hitting the challenges that you're hitting. So yeah, that's what keeps me going.
Sue?
Ooh, again, I'm into this. I'm taking all of your advice and taking notes. I think it's so important to be kind to yourself. We hang on to things sometimes. And I've tried really hard to try and deal with something in the moment. This happened to me yesterday. I got very upset about something, and I really tried not to let it persist. At some point, you just have to say, okay, here's a lesson learned, and move on. I think the other thing that we perhaps share in common is we're so passionate about what we do, right? We love it. You wake up every day and you're really motivated by it. And what I find for me is there's a difference between the number of hours you're putting in but also the emotion that you're putting in. It's hard work, right? Because you have really high highs and you have lows and everything in between. So I do think that I think perspective sometimes is really great, whether that's giving yourself a break, or it's exercising, or it's just doing something differently, leaving it and coming back to it. Or I really love to talk about, different situations with, it could be mentors, or it could just be a family member or a friend, because I always feel like you can learn and appreciate a new perspective on something by just sharing and listening to someone else. So I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to just keep going, but it does get a little exhausting sometimes. So
Definitely. I think all your perspectives have been, really informative. And one thing that keeps sticking out is, the power of community, valuing the people around you, sharing your experiences and having them, teach you something, affirming what you want, as Shaklo said, reminding yourself of what you're trying to achieve and who you are. Yeah, I think those were really great perspectives. The next question is, which woman figure has been your role model or has inspired you? I'll start with Shalina.
Yeah, I love this question. One of the women who came to mind, because there are plenty, but one of the women who came to mind with this question is a woman called Safia Mini. And Safia is the founder and CEO of a sustainable fashion brand called People Tree. And the reason why I really, I guess, look up to her is that she really embeds her ethics and her values into her business, and she really believes it. She's so purpose driven, and it's so clear. When you look at the brand People Tree, it is so transparent. It feels personable, even though it's a fashion brand and you just purely go there to buy clothes. And it's a brand with integrity. And I think that those are values that Safia holds herself. But it's also amazing how she's been able to really implement that into her business as well, and really been able to embed those values into what she does.
Yeah, I think also in terms of what you've just said and the previous question in terms of what keeps you going, it's clear that she has a big why. So understanding why you're doing something, your passion, people are always going to buy into what you believe. So it's not always about like what you're doing, what product you're selling. Like you said, it's all about fashion, but you're drawn to her because clearly she has a purpose.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Shaklo.
Yeah, so one of the role models for me, I think, like, growing up, I had a lot of role models, and I think that I have met so many women who are so inspiring, so beautiful, so goal-driven, and so motivated. So I can't just say one person, but I can definitely say my professor at college, her name is Lori Thanos. She's one of the most amazing women that I have ever met. Not just because she is just like a great professor, but also a great motivator, great human being to be around with. She doesn't just rock her role as a professor, but her role as a single mom and as a woman to any kind of community, you know. When I met her, I was very lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do and what kind of major I wanted to choose as a freshman at a college. And she just kind of like told me like, listen, like, what do you want to be? Just like tell me, like, what was your dreams when you were younger? What do you wanted to do when you were younger, right? And she asked me all of those questions that kind of like it like made me feel like I found my passion, right? Because it's more of like if you go back to your childhood, right? You had so many dreams that you wanted to become, right? And then when you grow up, you kind of like lose it, like you forget what you wanted to become. And so she was the one who actually brought my real passion alive, right? I kind of like wasn't a biology major because my parents wanted me to become, but she was the one who actually found that in me, where who I really wanted to become, right? And she said, if you want to be in business, be in business. You shouldn't care about anybody else but yourself, right? And so she was the one who actually motivated me and told me that I could be anything, right? And what I also love her is because she really doesn't give a damn about anything, you know, she really doesn't. And I think that's how every woman, every badass woman that should be like that, you know, she just rocks her stuff and she just does it, you know, she doesn't care about anybody and she just like does it, you know, she doesn't care if anyone says that she's a bad teacher, she's a bad professor, she knows she's bad, good, you know, she knows she's the best in finance and she could be the best professor ever and she knows that, and that's all she needs, right? She doesn't care about what others have to say about her, she doesn't care about anything, and she does it all by being a single mother, a professor, living by herself. And it may be really a hard, but I love how she stays so strong, right? As a woman, she is very strong. She knows what she's doing every time. She always puts her AirPods on and puts the craziest songs and just like dancing in the hallways, right? And just she's just that woman, the strongest woman that I know that I want to become, you know. And I told her myself too, I want to be like you. And she goes like, okay, we will see, but you have to be strong though. She says that, you know, you have to be strong, you have to stop crying, you have to stop doing this, you have to stop saying that, oh, world put this to me. No, you can't say that. You have to be strong and you have to do what you have to do, you know. And so I can proudly say that that strong woman is one of my role models and I love her because of her strength and to for always being my motivator, you know. Yeah.
See.
I have to say that when I think about my most impactful role models, it always goes back to sports for me. I've had some amazing coaches over the course of my life, especially when I was young. One gentleman in particular, just I felt like really knew what I wanted to achieve, and but I didn't know what that would take. And he pushed me in ways that I don't even think I would have understood how to push myself, and really just kept challenging me. And I think I learned so much from him in particular, and a lot of other coaches I had the opportunity to play for. Sports is an interesting thing to me because it's an area where people don't tend to shy away from being critical of your performance. And I've failed a lot and been pushed a lot. And I think that has just kind of carried over into what I've kind of tried to become during the rest of my life. So I really think about those unique opportunities, and yeah, I would definitely say that they didn't let me get away with anything.
Shivali.
For me, one of the most strongest female role models that I've had in my life is actually my wave mentor. named Lauren. WAVE is a program through Built by Girls that connects you with a mentor working in tech or business. And this is my first mentorship program, or even just having like, I guess, someone who is like 100% going to be a mentor for me. And I was really nervous about it first because, she was like so cool in terms of the things that she did. And I was kind of lost at the time about what I wanted to pursue. And I think that hearing about her non-linear path towards tech, and definitely understanding how as she moved up at her job, there were definitely less women in the room, and that made it a lot more cutthroat in terms of that everyone was trying to get a seat at the table. It really allowed me to see that my feelings of imposter syndrome were valid, because I was definitely feeling a lot of that at the time. And I think also just having someone who believes in you is really, really important, especially like when you're not having the best day. And I think that hearing about, her struggles is really, really allowed me to see that, you know, it you do have those days, but like everybody ends up doing okay at the very end. And that's always just really resonated with me. And my mentor also said that every good engineer has the skills of a good businesswoman. And that's really allowed me to kind of narrow down my interests, which was something that I have been struggling with for so long. And I just think that having someone who really understands you can really help in terms of just feeling included in such a, space like tech.
Karen.
So I've had quite a lot of women who have been inspiration, from my grandmother, who was unbelievable, to randomly my first boyfriend's mother, who was absolutely amazing and was the one who encouraged me to go to university. But as I was thinking about this, all of the women and the careers, some of the women I work with at the moment are just unbelievably inspirational. But I think all of the things that they've all got in common are they're all very true to themselves. And they help other people. They've put themselves out there to help support others. And I think that's, for me, that's probably what I hope to aspire to. And I think they are, for me, that's such strength in their character, but in also their ability to make a difference.
Thank you. I'm cautious of time. So in closing, I'd like you guys just to give, the audience or the next generation of female leaders some advice. I'll start with Sue.
I would say to be true to yourself and your passions. Don't let anyone prescribe to you what they think you should do. I think that young people should explore as much as possible. Try things that you would think that maybe would never be for you. Just be vulnerable and don't be afraid really to fail. And really, be kind to yourself. So take risks and make sure you have a really good network around you.
Shalina.
Yeah, for me, it goes back to mindset. So, learn about growth mindset, learn about the fixed mindset that, we all can succumb to at times, and develop some good habits around addressing that. Maybe putting that yet in place, or maybe actually validating your thinking with truths, and looking at situations as more of a growth opportunity, looking at challenges and setbacks as opportunities to really grow and develop and to step into. And you can learn so much more about yourself, about other people, about your craft in those scenarios as well. Sometimes those scenarios in that deep end are where you learn best. And also develop that resilience, which is so important. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Shaklo.
Thank you. I would definitely agree with what Sue said, and I agree with everything that she said. And one thing that I would say, be open to every opportunity that comes your way, because as a woman, I coming to going to college and just kind of like going to different like freshman, sophomore. I kind of took every opportunity that came my way. I joined any kind of club or organization that I could think of, right? I kind of took any opportunities. I worked in the marketing field, I worked in the like a medicine field, I worked in every field that actually helped me build to become the person that I am today, right? So any opportunity that you take is going to take you a different path, but that path may not be your last path, but it's definitely going to teach you something, right? It may not be the end of your journey. It's definitely going to teach you something so big that you're not going to even realize. So definitely be open to different ideas and start now, right? If you have any idea, if you want to do it, if you want to make it come true, do it now. Like the time is now, right? Like you guys are doing. Definitely don't be afraid to reach out to other female leaders, right? Don't be afraid to reach out to different women around your career and ask for some advice, ask for some of the things that they can do for you, right? We are so willing to help you. We're so willing to advise you on things that we learned, and we want to help you, right? Especially with LinkedIn, it became so easy for you to reach out to women around the world and get advice from them and learn from them. And so use all of the opportunities that's around you, and have those mentors, and always be passionate, motivated, stick to your ideas, and always be strong.
Shivali?
I think that the best advice that I've ever heard was that confidence is a skill that everyone's learning. I think that it's really important to keep that in mind as you pursue such a hyper competitive environment field, because like I think that a lot of us forget to celebrate the small victories, and I guess recognize the successes we've had to this point, since we're so invested in our future success. And I think that that's really helped me recognize my strengths and definitely my weaknesses as someone who does want to pursue tech. But yeah, that's what I would say.
And Karen?
Such awesome advice. For me, it will be yourself, stay true to yourself, and bring your true self every day. And be brave. Ask. If you don't ask, you won't get. And I suppose finally for me, 2 points: support other women, and also if you decide you do want children and you have children and you have boys, make sure you bring them up as feminists. Let's, do you mean, and take and call out that, and make sure that our young men are learning and supporting, and we can all change the world that way.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for, being on this panel. Your stories are truly inspiring, and I hope, the people listening do taken something. I definitely have, and they put it into practice. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No worries. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, evenings. Yeah.
Goodbye.
All right.
No
bye,
worries.
guys.
Thank you. Wonderful to meet you all.
Wonderful to meet you.